You know, most towns grow up where you have somebody moves to an area and decides to start a store, and then people start accumulating around that. And Newell was the opposite of that. The U.S. Reclamation Service started building Orman Dam. It was government land, so they set aside the town site for Newell, declared that that was the headquarters of the irrigation project.
It was designated in 1903 already to be the headquarters. Like Vail was star of the project. Nissland was the hub of the project. And Newell was the headquarters of the project because it was.
Planning the proposed dam and canal system brought engineers and workers from across the United States. Plans included the future town of Newell, which was named after Frederick Haynes Newell, lead engineer on the project. Once plans were finalized, years of back-breaking work started.
They first went in there and dug a trench, got all of the topsoil, the grass and the weeds, and dug it down, and then they dug the pilings, long posts in there, and that's what's under that dam to keep it from moving. And then they put dirt on there, and they would pack it.
In these diaries, it mentions they had the winds like we have. They came back to work the next day to work on the face, and 3 feet of dirt had blown away. So they had to rebuild that whole face again.
They had a 8-car train on the south side of the dam and a 10-car train on the north side. So they had these Vulcan steam shovels, they were called. They'd load those cars, and those cars were side dumped. And so they'd bring them up on the dam, and they'd put on 6 inches of dirt, and they'd pack that. And then where Owl Creek goes right through where the dam is, they left that gap open because they had a trestle across there first to get their train across. And then when they were ready, then they filled that in. They were worried about erosion on the face of the dam, so they built these concrete blocks that were like 8 foot square. And then they would cover them with dirt, and so they had damp dirt, and they let them cure for 30 days. Then they put them on the face of the dam, and so the whole face of that dam was concrete blocks. They had some big waves, big wind, and it washed some of those blocks loose, and so then they put those great big rocks in there then. You know, when they built Orman Dam, it was the second largest city. Orman, that community just below the dam, was the second largest city in South Dakota because of all the workers that worked on that dam.
As the dam began to take shape, so did the network that would eventually carry water directly to farmers across the area.
I am amazed at the canal system and the laterals and the sublaterals that they flow with the engineering abilities that they had in 1905 or 4 when they started to what we have today, and it still works. It's amazing. You know, they have a north canal and a south canal. The north canal is a lot bigger. It serves more acres.
Flood irrigation, you open the gate and let her go and guide the water to where it needed to be. We have all these series of ditches and canals through the whole system. 11 was when they first turned in the South Canal because it was completed, and then the next year the North Canal was, and then this north side. First year, 1911, was also a drought, and so the only ones who had crop was the South Canal people. They had hay, they had everything, and boy could they sell. And then the next year, of course, in 1912, then the North Canal was open, and it was the biggest earthen dam in the world at that time. And then from here, since it was a success, they went to Denver. Fort Peck came right next, up Montana. Bureau of Reclamation just started popping them up because this was such a success. Our fathers would just croak if they saw this. What? They got pivots out here now?